in today's video, we basically have an attempt where I say, you know what, fuck it, let's go in with some gouache and let's see what I can do, because honestly, the watercolors just weren't doing it for me during this spread. And I genuinely think that if you've seen my prior experience with gouache and kind of seen how that turned out, that this sketchbook spread definitely looks, I guess, a lot more finished and cohesive and a little bit more like I know what I'm doing, honestly. So if seeing me get a little bit closer to my goals sounds like something you guys would enjoy, I'm Rory Fluent. Feel free to call me Rory. If you're new around here, hi, hello, how are you? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I like to create dope art content and hopefully curate a chill atmosphere. And if you're not new around here, what is up, my dudes? Let's get into this video. But it still wasn't quite there, and you'll kind of see how I end up rectifying that at the end of this video. But we're going through this painting process really quick because I have a lot to show here. And I feel like a lot of the things that I was doing, the ways that I was painting, I was really happy with. The shading and the really, I guess, like, kind of more detailed work where I'm, like, adding the little dashes for the insinuation of fur and the way that I'm kind of blocking colors out. I was a pretty huge fan of, and I was really, really happy with the way that all of that was going, but there was still just something lacking, which I feel like is something I'm touching on in like all of my sketchbook spreads, and I don't necessarily want everybody to think that I don't like my work or I don't like what I'm creating, because I definitely do. It's just sometimes you get in a little bit of a rut, and I go kind of back and forth on gouache and trying to paint something that I would normally paint in watercolor and start to throw in more mixed media and try to paint wholly in gouache was definitely an experience, and it can definitely, I don't know, leave to you as an artist feeling a little bit unsatisfied with what you're doing because you have no idea what you're doing. But it was here in this particular spread that I felt like something started to click, and I finally started to understand what I'm going for and the vibe that I'm trying to create in my sketchbook. And not only that, but how to use gouache, because it's been, oh my god, it's been a process. I'm not sure why I decided that I wanted to paint wolves. I feel like it's just a subject matter that I haven't really touched on, and I was very excited to kind of, I don't know, take a sort of like very, how do I put this, like complex and very flexible subject and just see how many different wolves I can paint and what they look like and the different colors that I can use to still make them look like wolves, and just, I don't know, experiment a lot with my subject matter because I'm trying to push myself out of my comfort zone clearly on this spread. I've drawn a lot of foxes, but I haven't drawn a lot of wolves, and I was kind of excited to go ahead and give this a go. I'm a pretty big fan of the dude sitting in the corner currently in the sketchbook, on the left page that I have here. He, I don't know, I feel like he's the proper amount of goofy and silly, and I really love this pair here, but I kind of fuck up his, like, front feet, so you'll kind of see how that goes. I guess, you know, it probably happens to the best of us, but we sometimes, like, have these sketches, and then especially if you don't paint them in the same day, you kind of forget what you were sketching a little bit, and I end up, like, connecting what are supposed to be his back feet to his front feet, which is not what was supposed to happen, but it is what ends up happening, and one of the main reasons why I end up kind of doing some tweaking, which you'll see here. Clearly this is definitely like a lot more sped up than normal, and that's because I do have a whole other portion of this video that I am very excited to talk to you guys about. One of the things I noticed while I was experimenting a lot more with gouache is that there's a lot of like drying time in between as well, like very similar to watercolor, where you kind of do small little changes and tweaks, and then you kind of have to wait for the gouache to dry. And I've kind of talked about this, but it's very like additive, I guess, where like you're building from darks to lights, and in watercolor you're building from lights to darks, so sometimes it really messes with my brain and I'm kind of not sure what's happening. And I will say that this was a fantastic exercise though for me in terms of like color blocking and figuring out how to finally like shade and how I want my shading to look. And I'm also a really huge fan of how the fur texture turns out with, honestly, the entire spread, which was a huge win for me. I also end up going in with these tree branches that have like eyeballs in them and layering pastel over top of gouache, over top of watercolor, and I just am a huge fan of how that turns out. I get really excited when I'm looking at, you know, these little tree branches with the eyeballs and everything, because the pastel just, I don't know, it actually came through on this sketchbook spread, and I feel like in a really good way, and I was really happy with the final product of this. I really didn't feel like I was experimenting a whole lot in this spread. But I realized as I was doing it that I genuinely had like no idea what I was doing, and I was really pushing myself out of my comfort zone, forcing myself to just completely paint in gouache. So it was a little bit defeating when I didn't love the final results, but I also didn't hate them, and I feel like I was just kind of like confused about what's happening and what's going on, and I felt like I could still do better in Procreate, which has kind of been like a test for me, you know. If you've been watching my videos, I've mentioned it probably every video, which is the fact that I'm trying to get my traditional media to have the same excitement and vibe as the art that I create in Procreate. I feel like I can be a lot more, I can achieve more of what I want in terms of texture and control in Procreate, more so than in traditional media, which is why I am trying very hard to lean into gouache. Obviously, that medium lends a lot of control, and I feel like can be a little bit more forgiving because it's so opaque. You can just, paint over whatever it is that you want to, and I love the color blocking. I know I've talked about that a couple times now, but the color blocking and the shading that I can achieve with gouache, and the opacity and being able to layer over top of itself is fantastic. It's definitely what I'm looking for. But I think, and I'm sure anyone who's an artist who's watching these videos has felt this before, I got a little wore out of this sketchbook spread. It took like 4 weeks to complete for no reason. I was just really busy and doing it bit by bit, and I think I got sick of it, honestly. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and go ahead and pull this spread into Procreate. Okay, so I'm not entirely certain how I'm going to edit this into the video or whatever, but I decided to go ahead and try and take what I learned on this gouache spread, and I wanted to kind of remake the spread on Procreate. So I'm gonna go ahead and sit down here and try and figure that out because I just feel like I can do better, and I was really excited about this theme and drawing some wolves and dog kind of creatures and experimenting with the colors, and I don't feel like it necessarily came out the way that I wanted it to, but that's okay because, you know, like gouache isn't the easiest thing for me to use, and, you know, I could go on and on about that forever. But basically, I'm going to sit down here now and I'm going to sketch out the rest of this spread, probably with some different sketches, as you can see, and just figure out what I can do. Okay, obviously, as you can see, and also as I just explained in that little interlude, I decided to pull the sketchbook spread into Procreate and then start kind of fucking around and seeing what I can do. I felt like it would be a great comparison, like to take something that I've already done and then to do some of the same sketches, and then I do try and improve on other sketches that maybe I wasn't as happy with, and see how they compare to each other so that I can start to maybe draw a direct comparison to what I feel makes what I do in Procreate better and more like what I want than in traditional media. It's a lot easier to dissect. Okay, so I'm looking at the exact same sketch that I did both traditionally and in this sketchbook spread only in gouache, and then compare it to the same sketch in Procreate and to see just exactly what I'm lacking. I decided that the spread needed more spookiness, a little bit more eyeballs, something of interest. I don't know, just a little bit more me. I felt like the sketchbook spread itself was a little bland and it lacked some of the personality that I like to bring into the spreads, especially some of the like strange quirkiness, especially with those eyeballs. Oh my god, how many times can I say the word especially in a single sentence? Voiceovers, honestly, they can be kind of hard, you know, like you're trying to sit down and you're trying to talk and find new ways to talk to this audience that you don't even know, and you're also trying to like not say the same things over and over again, but at the same time, it's like okay if you kind of repeat yourself because not everybody is watching all of your videos, so honestly, you kind of have to repeat yourself a little bit, and it's just like, what the hell am I supposed to be talking about right now? Not to mention losing your train of thought. Oh my god, it's a whole thing. But back to the video. This video the rest of the video is going to focus on this Procreate spread, obviously. And so you can see I'm going in and adding more details. I decided to create a new sketch or two and really try to envelop the feel that I've been going for in terms of the clutter. I definitely felt like that was lacking in my other spread. I don't know. I felt like there needed to be more clutter and more going on, but I wasn't sure how to add that like myself without like a Procreate pen, you know, where I can just take the pen and kind of splotch some color around. I think that's one of the biggest obstacles that I'm currently struggling with, is just the fact that I just don't have the same tools available to me, or I guess the same brushes as I do in Procreate, and so because of that I am really struggling to figure out how to create the same look and feel. So the perspective that you're currently getting right now in the video is a little bit different than what you're used to, because I'm actually like doodling on my partner's couch, which if you've watched me before, you know I do all the time, but I had this idea where I was like, what if I just move my ring light kind of like filming setup and just attach it to this table next to the couch? And so that's what I went ahead and tried to do, and it's a little messy and the perspective isn't perfect, so I apologize for that. It's also something you're going to see in a couple other videos, so feel free to let me know what you start to think. Oh my god, I feel like I'm stumbling over my words a lot in this voiceover, but you'll get to see a better version of what you're dealing with right now, where currently it's a little bit too zoomed in, a little shaky, not the biggest fan, but at least you guys can still kind of see what I'm doing. I suppose I'll take that as a win, you know, at least it's not completely unusable footage. And I don't know, maybe some of you are wondering like why I don't just go ahead and then like be a predominantly Procreate artist or digital artist, and it's just like, I don't know, I don't think I could stand to not have a physical sketchbook that I get to flip through and look at and feel. There's something so tangible about a sketchbook that Procreate it lacks, honestly. And I feel like what I'm currently trying to do in my art journey at the moment is trying to figure out what it is about traditional media that is better and different in other ways than Procreate. Like, I'm trying to figure out what does Procreate lack and what can I focus on in my traditional media to make it as interesting and engaging and fun to me to create as the doodles that I create in Procreate. I'm just gonna go ahead and let you guys kind of watch some of this spread play out, or this Procreate spread play out, and I'll be back to talk to you guys before the end of the video, okay? Yeah. So it's about now where I kind of fix that angle, and you'll see a little bit more how the other videos are going to work in terms of the perspective that you guys are going to see as I'm doodling and painting in Procreate on my partner's couch. This eyeball guy I'm a pretty huge fan of. I feel like he added a lot of personality to this page, and I had a blast doodling him. He's really simple, pretty rough sketch, but I was happy with the pose and the three tails and of course the eyeballs, and then this little guy in the corner going ooh and howling. I mean, come on, how can you not love him? The one thing I'll say I struggle with still is like inking in Procreate. I feel like sometimes the inking brushes that I use can be a bit too thick, and I don't enjoy them as much as a nice ink liner from traditional media. So I'm still definitely trying to find something that captures what I love so much about inking something traditionally. You can also see that I decided to tweak the colors a little bit. I wanted them to pull, I don't know, just a little bit more unique and interesting. These reds, greens, kind of yellow, oranges are all kind of brown based, but they're different, and I don't know, they have a little bit more personality, I guess. Seriously though, as I start to ink, you'll kind of notice I feel like I really struggle to get an inking brush that's as thin as I want it to be. Now, the one that I'm using here is like I know it's from the, at this point you guys all know what I use, the Max Pack. Max Pack? Yeah, I believe that's what it's called, and it's the retro gouache pack, and it has in it like an inky liner, but then I also use the, it's like called the sketch brush or something like that, and I use that because I like the texture in it, but I don't know, for this particular spread, it was kind of feeling like too much, and particularly here with this little sadness guy, I feel like the inked liner was a little bit too thick, but I just wasn't sure what the hell to do about it, honestly. I don't know, so if any of you guys know of some nice liner brushes that I could get from Procreate, I'm okay if I have to pay for it or whatever. I'm just kind of realizing that that's something that I might want to get a little bit more refined and more practice in, and maybe have some better and more diverse brushes to pull from. Obviously, traditionally, I know I love my Tombow soft point brush pen, but in Procreate, I don't feel like I've found its equivalent yet. As a side note, please do let me know what you think about this angle. I hope it's not too jarring or wobbly or anything. You're gonna see it in a couple more videos already, but if it's not well liked or anything like that, then I probably won't go back to it, or I'll try and figure something else out. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys watch these final touches and say my goodbyes. So if you've made it to the end of this video, I hope that you liked seeing this art comparison between traditional and in Procreate, or I guess digital. I had a lot of fun, and I mean, I almost always have a lot of fun, honestly, but I felt like this Procreate spread was pretty successful, and I was finding it a lot more refreshing to deal with because I kind of sat down and did it all in one sitting, where I think the sketchbook spread, its issue and my issue with it was the fact that it took me like a few weeks on and off to finish it, and I never end up liking spreads that I have to come back to over and over again. Feel free to let me know if you guys have experiences like that, because I don't know, I feel like they never are what I want them to be because I'm kind of just sick of working on them at that point. But again, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll get to talk to you in the next one. Bye!